there are great big energies coming, and you're going to need to know how to harness them. So I'm here to tell you about them coming up. We're going to have to know how to very quickly make use of these energies in order to build new systems, because the old ones are collapsing rapidly under the shift in cosmic energy that is already occurring right now, and that is the movement of most of the trans planets into the early degrees of cardinal signs and brand new signs. We've got Jupiter in Cancer, we've got Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, moving out into Pisces, coming back into Aries. We've got Uranus moving into Gemini, and all of these big titanic forces are making changes throughout the human psyche. And we're going to have to learn what is happening in order to make best use of them in our lives and to establish a collective interaction that can use these energies to set things into better motion. We need to start collectively manifesting. So we're doing a reading today to understand what it all means. Strength is ruled by Leo, and the sun today is the solar solstice as I am recording this. We have massive collective ego problems. Our egos are guiding our distinctions in the world, the way we are making distinctions in the world, the way we are looking at the world, the way we are looking at ourselves, the way we are making decisions, the way we are communicating and interacting is all strongly ego-driven at this moment. There is 2 transpersonal planets, Neptune and Saturn, at the early degrees of Aries. Right now, they have moved into the sign of Aries recently, and those 2 titanic forces are working in tandem to restructure the nature of our collective consciousness. But they are in this early sign of Aries, this cardinal sign of Aries. Aries is about individuation. It's about the self. It is about the strong push of the self into liberty to individuate itself from the collective. That's what Aries does. That is the energy of Aries. And so, having Saturn there, collapsing, condensing this force, narrowing it down like a laser beam, and then Neptune there, kind of acting as a obstruction in some sense, as a dilution of our capacity to perceive, because Neptune is this gaseous, nebulous aspect which contains within it, yes, our highest ideals, but also has our delusions. And so there is this force of compression occurring in Saturn, and this compression is seeking to construct, because as we narrow the energetic space, the energy present does not diminish, it becomes constricted, and in that sense becomes more contracted, more energetic in a smaller space. It's like when you compact particles further and further together, and they become more and more energetic. As you compress something in a pressurized environment, it becomes more hot. Pressure becomes heat through the frictive force of the interaction of molecules. And that is what's happening with Saturn, compressing itself down. But it is compressing that energy of Neptune. Neptune is also working on Saturn. It's kind of like a play of things. It's like 2 revolving forces as they move back and forth over the boundary, over the very significant cosmic boundary of the cardinal line in Aries, and the mutable line in Pisces. So we have this interplay of things occurring where Neptune is also erasing old structures, bringing in this dissolution of things, so that the structures that are before us, that have clouded, that have obstructed our thinking, that have structured our thinking, and in that way have obstructed our thinking because we become tied into these systems that need to be in certain ways. So along comes Neptune, and it sort of deletes that from the consciousness. Like we sort of start to like question, why are these structures present, or even forget about these structures. We have generationally forgotten a lot of structural norms that were part of society in like only a few generations ago. So this is happening on the one side, dissolution and restructuring together simultaneously in this force of individuation. It is as though the collective is being reformed by reforming each individual in the collective simultaneously. That is what these cosmic forces are doing at the moment. But there are other forces at play. What did I do with my card? Here it is. I'm trying to tell you also that as this occurs and it reformulates ourselves, our individual selves in a certain sense, we end up attempting to assert the self. There's more assertion of the self in the uncertainty of this moment. Because as we become uncertain as to who we are, there is a shadow reaction, a negative shadow reaction inside of our collective core being that reacts against that and attempts to assert the self and assert the structures that this self was built upon. It asserts the structures that the self was built upon. The ideological forms that established us, we defend as aspects of our ego. This is seen in the form of nationalism and racial identity politics, racial oppression across the world, these sorts of things. It's a negative aspect of the ego coming forth and asserting its dominance upon the world. And that is occurring. But emerging from this, perhaps, as Neptune and Saturn begin their retrograde back into Pisces, we go back into this water energy, this emotional water energy, and we touch again the cool waters of that vast ocean, the collective liminal space that is the soul, the oceanic soul of Pisces. It is the oceanic human soul to which we all integrate and reintegrate, lose ourselves, become dissolved in. We become connected into it. And we become connected back into that emotional loss of boundary, which is what compassion is. To touch the soul of one another and to understand the human aspect of each individual, the collective aspect of each individual. The King of Cups is the embodiment of that Piscean regality. He is a Neptune, emergent from the sea. But he is coming. He is not here yet. Okay? This is latent forces within the cosmos. Beginning. the Queen of Wands. And then we return again, Aries and Neptune, back into the fire sign of Aries. After that, and they take their lesson, the Piscean lesson of integration, of being present inside the mother womb of the human soul, and emerge in their feminine knowledge. And then we begin to assert the compassionate capacity of the feminine as the balancing force of the negative aspect of the masculine ego. Virgo is in Mars right now, transiting. Mars is in Virgo right now, transiting. You may have felt an energetic shift since June 17th. That is taking the chaos of Mars and Leo, this sort of energy ball moving through Leo, igniting the gases and setting things aflame, and creating this chaos in Leo. Inside of our minds, inside the psyche, inside the collective, the outbursts, the strange chaos that has occurred, and now in the world, it's moved into Virgo, and Virgo sees this chaos, this fiery, energetic chaos, and says, hang on, I am going to cool this all off, talk some sense into this, and bring it down so that we can begin organizing the little bits and pieces into a sensible order so that things can begin to work. Because Virgo needs to order the space that it occupies in the world. Like Taurus, it is an earth sign. Taurus is materialization, and it doesn't necessarily care how things are arranged because it enjoying the simple pleasure of existence. But Virgo is much more particular. It's neurotic in a sense, and wants to see things placed in their most perfect order. Because there has to be order in the world. There has to be order in creation, because otherwise we dissolve into chaos. Things begin to break. Because we are understanding. We are understanding that something has to be defended. Mars in Virgo understands that defense and offense is a state of order, extreme order, unleashing targeted order to create chaos as weapons. Targeted order as weapons to create chaos in the enemy, because chaos is weakness to Virgo. Chaos is dangerous. So we guard against it in this sign, because we know that there is chaos to come if we don't do it. This is the energy. This is kind of Mars in Virgo. I've been watching Andor. Mars in Virgo is that Andor energy. It is the particular necessity of fighting a guerrilla war against forces much larger than the self. It's a need to organize and set things into motion in order to have leverage against larger, more dangerous aspects of the cosmos. So we have to work on what am I trying to say? We have to work on ordering our lives while this energy is present. And I think that I don't even need to say it to a lot of people. Most of the people I've been talking to already feel it, already feel the necessity, are already doing it. You don't really need to tell Virgos to get to work. They're already working. They're already working by the time you wake up. The High Priestess has come up multiple times. She's in the energetic field, you would say. She is in the holographic signal across the universe, which these cards are picking up as quantum radio signal. Sorry, I keep moving around. But the High Priestess is our intuitive energy. She emerges, of course, once we have subdued the negative masculine impression. There is a positive masculine activation of this. I know there's a woman on this card, and it does have a feminine energy to it, but it's ruled by the sun. And it is about the ego. And it is about that assertion of the self. It is assertion of the self to demonstrate strength over nature, essentially, over our environment. Negative aspect. When that has been subdued, when we have subdued the animal of the ego, we can hear the whispering, intuitive, and ever-changing, ever-shifting voice of the moon within inside of us. The moon aspect, the lunar aspect, the divine feminine that speaks in quiet voice within. And we connect with that instinct once this is subdued. And we can speak more to the emotional needs of the collective rather than the egoic needs of the self at the moment. We can touch into the voice of the moment itself, demanding our presence, that can speak divine signal from the holographic universe into our minds, and we have knowledge, occulted knowledge within the self, upon which to act if we are able to identify it. If we are able to identify it. And hold on to that as you deal with the titanically shifting forces in the universe at the moment right now, in the cosmos. This energy in Aries, this energy as Jupiter moves into Cancer. We haven't even talked about that. That early energy of Cancer, which is somewhat celebrant, seeking to come together, but it's a bit at odds with that domineering energy that's happening in Aries. There's a sense of awakening compassion within the collective that is sort of reordering, helping to reorder our priorities in this world and to each other. And so in this chaos, we have to hold on to that intuitive sense. We really have to hold it, because it's very easy in the noise to not hear that voice within, to discard it, to say I'm sorry, I can't listen to my intuition. I talk to all these people who are like, tell me what I need to do. What's my career? Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do with my life? And you ask them, and you're like, well, what would you do if it wasn't an issue for money, for just joy? And they'll tell you right away. They know exactly what it is. And their intuition tells them, this is what excites me. This is what it makes me joyous to wake up in the morning and to do and to live. I know what it is. I know what it is. I'm in touch with that. But then the noise comes along. Noise. Noise and chaos of the cosmos, especially now. Especially as Uranus moves into Gemini. Explosive chaos of that energy. And we have to hold ourselves down. Hold it in, hold it. Hold on to intuitive energy, intuitive knowledge. Because it's so easy. It's so easy to lose that. But it's our guiding compass. And there's a sense of this impending. And you feel it, you know it. Something's got to give here. All of this happening, all of the demands, the weight, the push that's being put onto the structures in this world, the Saturnian world that we occupy, the material world. In Discordianism, you would call it the anaristic principle. The anaristic principle that is governing governmental structures of society, that is putting all these forces together in order to hold against chaos. There's so much energy pushing against all of that. Trying to bend it into a new system while pretending that is the correct system. Which is what those fascistic forces are doing. They're kind of corrupting the structures that we had previously, pushing them into new tyrannical territory while pretending that that's how the whole system is supposed to work. This is a shearing process on the structure itself. There are all sorts of these forces at work. Shearing and putting force in directions onto a system that is not sustained to take that kind of force. So that's happening. And it's just a matter of time before we get to this point where it all comes down. The tower, where it all comes down. Everything comes down. Everything comes down at some point. We know that. This is inevitability. But this is the collapse of the Panopticon. This is the collapse of the jail system. This is the powering off of the Matrix. And now we have to wake up from this condition once it occurs. It will be a wake up. This is how we wake up. We fall. We fall out of the structure. We fall out of the building. And then wake up. That's how that works. Not until maybe a few people wake up before then in order to help the rest along the way. But most people are not going to wake up. From the 11th floor until they find themselves on the first floor. Suddenly. As the whole thing comes down. Alright. That's enough. That's a short one for today. Thank you for listening. I hope it helped. I hope you're prepared. consider that January 25th is the new moon in Cancer. I know manifestation is on a lot of people's minds as Jupiter moves into Cancer, and we try to harness this new sense of abundance that is coming into our interior self. We want to harness that on January 25th. It's the new moon in Cancer. It is going to be preceded by a Jupiter Cazimi that will help clarify what it is that we want to how we want our abundance to take its shape. And then right after that is the new moon in Cancer, directly conjunct Jupiter. New moons are about manifestation, and Jupiter is about evolution and expansion and abundance. So you have like the cosmic multiplier effect of Jupiter. They're prepared to receive your intention and your manifestations of self, the change of story of self in order to manifest some new intention. Okay? Jupiter is ready to receive that and to convert it into this vast abundance in our lives. Take your time. In a hurry, because it's coming. It's coming quickly. Get your stuff ready. Get your shit together. Summer is here. Put it all together in the correct order. Assert the self, but acknowledge the needs of the collective, and manifest your way into new life so that you're ready when she comes down.